When you and I stand at the judgment seat of Christ, he's not just looking at our highlights. The time we did something good here and did something there, good there, good there, good. That's all there. That's all going to be in the tape. But he's looking at the whole program to decide what he can use because it has eternal value attached to it. And so now you know why Paul said, based on last week's sermon, that he says, I live to please him. Suppose you went to a restaurant. Nice restaurant. Bougie restaurant. Expensive restaurant like my kids better take me to today. Like my kids better take me to today. And suppose you went to this expensive restaurant and they brought you out leftovers. They brought you out leftovers. I think you would have an issue and still say you had to pay full price. They brought you out. First of all, they brought you out leftovers. And the second thing is they still expect the same price. That would be an insult to you. That would be an insult to you because how can you charge me for leftovers? How can Jesus have paid this higher price and we give him leftovers? How can he given us the gift of eternal life and we give him leftover? Leftover time, leftover money, leftover attention, leftover faithfulness, leftover. God, if I got it left, I got it for you, but thank you for the high price you paid. We wouldn't appreciate it, and neither does God appreciate giving up his son for leftover saints. So he says, gold, silver, precious stone, that which is indestructible and valuable, wood, hay, and stubble, that which is very destructible and has little or no value. He tells you how this is going to work. He says back in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, he says, verse 13, it will be revealed with fire. The fire itself will test the quality of each man's work. Okay? This is quality assurance. He will test the quality of each man, nobody's an exception, of each man's work. The fire is the discerning eye of God's judgment. And the discerning eye of God's judgment will reveal what was legitimate, what was illegitimate, what was fake, what was real, what was acceptable, what was not. And out of that judgment, it will determine what God can use because it had eternal value attached to it or what was useless. You can go to your backyard today and find wood, hay, and stubble. The limb from a tree that's broken off, weeds that have grown up, things that have got to be raked. You can go to your backyard because it's just there. It's just there on top of the ground. That's not how you find gold, silver, and precious stone. You're digging for that because that's valuable. That's not laying around. See, many Christians are satisfied with wood, hay, and stuff that's on the ground. They don't have to do anything with it. No, it doesn't take any effort to do that. But if you're looking for something valuable, you're going to dig for that because that's got some value to it. We want valuable people in our lives. You don't want to marry a wood, hay, and stubble man. You know, it's just there. Just there. At least I'm here. Just there. Or vice versa. I ain't cooking, you cook. I ain't cleaning, you clean. I ain't helping you, you do it. You know, but at least I'm here. No, that's wood, hay, and stubble. God says I'm more valuable than that. My son's sacrifice is more valuable than that. And so his discerning fire, his fiery eyes will analyze. And here's what happens. If a man's work which he built on remains, verse 14, he will receive a reward. So he's going to reward that which he can use because it had an eternal value attached to it. To the smallest thing, a cup of water, to the big things, he says, you will receive a reward. We'll talk about that beginning next week. We'll talk about what that means. But then he says, if any man's work is burned up in the fire of his judgment, he will suffer loss. So his eyes, the fire of his eyes zeroes in, and he will suffer loss. Two things. He'll lose something he should have had. She'll lose something she should have had because you can't have a loss unless you lost something. So something you should have gotten, you won't get, but you will also suffer loss. Now, this is a whole nother point about a misgiving of heaven. You're going to find out in one of the latest sermons, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth of Christians in heaven. Okay? Because you suffer loss. You know, you're going to feel the loss. It just won't be a loss that you have. It'll be a loss that matters. Okay? Boy, it got quiet in here. Just quiet. Lot was a very successful businessman in Sodom. Very successful. His name was known. He was living large. The Bible talks about all the cattle he had, all the land he had. He had the stuff of this earth. But when God came down and judged Sodom and Gomorrah, everything he had was burnt up, including losing his wife and 2 sons. He got out, but everything he worked for, other than his 2 daughters, everything he worked for was lost. And one of the reasons is he got too attached to earth. Now, we live on earth. We can't be so spiritually minded we're no earthly good. We live on earth. God is not against earth. He's not against you maximizing your potential, but he wants it done in connection and in reference to the foundation. He doesn't want you building a building on no foundation or the wrong foundation. He wants to be the foundation or the basis of life. And so everything burnt up. He shall suffer loss. The question is, what are you giving God that he can use on a daily basis in what you say, what you do, how you relate? So the idea is that your tape is rolled, the fire of his discerning eye sets it aflame, and what is left is rewarded. You ever seen a hamburger that started out this big? And then you put it on the fire. And it starts to burn the fat and the grease. And the hamburger starts to shrink. You started here. You thought you were getting a half pounder. And then they put it on the grill or the fire. And the stuff that's not meat begins to be burned out of it. You thought the burger was going to be the size of the bun. Only to discover the bun is 2 times bigger than the burger once the fire was put to it. Because that which was useless burned away. We may stand before God with 20 years of being a Christian, but once he puts his fire to it, to determine what he can use that had eternal value, it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and some suffer total loss.
Sunset into eyes, lost and letting in the blue. A sea of emotions where I'm lost thinking of you. Your touch is a wave that crashes on my skin. Slipped away in the undertow of our love within. I'm lost in your ocean where the tides are high, drowning in the moment. I'm never saying goodbye. In your love I'm free where the darkness shines. Lost in your ocean, I'm home, I'm mine. Your love is a mist that surrounds me like a cloud. I'm chasing the highs and the lows of our love avowed. In the silence I hear your voice whispering my name, a siren's call that beckons me to the flames. I'm lost in your ocean where the tides are high, drowning in the moment. I'm never saying goodbye. In your love I'm free where the darkness shines. Lost in your ocean, I'm home, I'm in the darkest night, you're my guiding light, a beacon in the storm that navigates me through the fight. Your love is a shelter where I can be myself, a place to call my own, where our love can wealth full, lush in trinitation, with a focus on the female. I'm lost in your ocean where the tides are high, drowning in the moment. I'm never saying goodbye. In your love I'm free where the darkness shines. Lost in your ocean, I'm home, I'm
Since Jonathan's in church today, I'll use him as an illustration. When he finished his 4th year of football at Baylor, we made a highlight tape. This highlight tape. The highlight tape is a tape of all of his great plays when he was playing a fullback at Baylor. So it has his catches, his great blocks. It has great runs. It has special team stuff. It has things he excelled in on this highlight tape. This highlight tape went to half to 2/3 of the NFL teams. They were very impressive. The scouts came to Baylor, came to the tape room, and asked to see the whole game. We ain't sent them no whole game. We sent them highlights. But they were not satisfied with highlights we wanted them to see. They said, we want to see the whole game. On one occasion, Baylor was playing Texas Tech. We drove 8 hours to Lubbock, Texas to watch Baylor play Texas Tech. In one of the plays, Jonathan was handed the ball on a straight dive play. As he broke through the line, he got hit twice and fumbled the ball. That was not on the highlight tape. We ain't sent that nowhere. But when the scouts came to look at the whole Texas Tech game, they saw the whole picture. When you and I stand at the judgment seat of Christ, he's not just looking at our highlights. The time we did something good here and did something there, good there, good there, good. That's all there. That's all going to be in the tape. But he's looking at the whole program to decide what he can use because it has eternal value attached to it. And so now you know why Paul said, based on last week's sermon, that he says, I live to please him. It's my goal to please him. Now, we're not perfect people. We flaw, we fall short. Every day. That's why it is very important that we have a mindset that says, when I get up in the morning, Lord, today my goal is to live in a way that pleases you. That is my goal. When I fall short, when I fail, I will acknowledge that. I'm not going to skip it. I'm going to acknowledge it so I can get back to the goal of pleasing you now that I know it's on tape. Now, I know the question for many of us is, well, what about all them past tapes? Does God erase them? No, the tapes are the tapes. But the beautiful thing, as you'll see later on, is that the grace of God, since he still left us here, will allow us to make new tapes. And so we can make new tapes. Can't cancel old tapes, but we can make new tapes. And if we can get enough time and enough effort to make new tapes, we can still have enough on that day to get a reward. He says, but he shall be saved just as so by fire. Just as so by fire means by the skin of his teeth. Means I'm not going to take his salvation away. I am going to take away his reward.